respect you too much for your brain, for your independence. My God. I can't believe you just did that.
It's fair play.
Technically, it's foreplay.
Hey everyone, today we'll recap a 2022 story named Sex Appeal. Spoilers ahead, watch out and enjoy. The story begins with Avery Hansen, a high school student who excels academically, but avoids situations where she feels uncomfortable. Despite her impressive GPA and acceptance to MIT, she isn't interested in prom or making many friends. This year, the STEAM Challenge tasks Avery with creating an app to solve a personal problem. After school, Avery meets Larson, her childhood best friend and frequent science experiment partner. While Larson doesn't share her passion for STEM, their friendship hits a snag when he tries to kiss Avery, and she reacts by punching him instead. Though Avery isn't interested in romantic relationships, she has a long-distance boyfriend named Casper, whom she met at a past STEAMCon. When asked if she'll bring him to prom, Avery dismisses the idea, stating that prom isn't important to her. Larson subtly tries to convince her to go to prom with him, but she turns down his offer. At home, Avery comes to the realization that she lacks weaknesses. She starts brainstorming ways to enhance her life, when her boyfriend Casper suddenly video calls, expressing his desire to take their relationship to the next level. However, when they meet in person at STEAMCon, Avery becomes overwhelmed with panic and abruptly closes her laptop, as sex is the only topic she knows nothing about. Avery grew up with her three moms, Susie, who's an artist, Deb, who's also renowned, and her bonus mom, Kim. Since she doesn't have anyone to give her advice on sex dates with guys, she talks to Susie about Casper's plans and her own thoughts about having sex later. Susie tells Avery that sex should be relaxed and fun, not perfect. When Avery goes back to her room, she decides to make an app to help her with intimacy and guide her through her first time with Casper. She starts by creating the AI and working on the algorithm, but she realizes she needs more real-life data to make it work better. The next day in her sex class, the teacher won't help her, so she goes back to her mom, Susie, for advice. Susie suggests reading books like 50 Shades of Grey for ideas, but Avery doesn't want to. Instead, Susie tells her to talk to her classmates to get some insights. Avery starts by asking the cheerleaders, dancers, and athletes for advice, but they don't have much experience to offer. They suggest talking to popular student Danica Malum, who provides details on preferences and finding a practice partner after school. Taking Danica's advice, Avery immediately asks Larson to meet at her house daily, which confuses everyone. Initially hesitant due to loyalty to his friends and having a crush, Larson eventually agrees to experiment again. Despite having a new crush, Avery and Larson meet at his room, where he follows a pre-written protocol before beginning. During their session, Larson mentions that love makes a good lover, but Avery disagrees, believing love and sex are separate. Avery then instructs Larson to kiss her, which he does, and he plays music to set the mood. They cuddle while listening to the song, until Avery asks him to move his hand under her shirt. Avery feels really good when Larson touches her, but he goes too far, so she leaves. At home, Avery keeps working on her computer program. The next day she talks to some classmates and visits a pottery maker to learn about guys' bodies. After learning more, Avery starts noticing guy stuff everywhere. She goes back to Larson's place, saying she needs to learn hands-on. Larson agrees to let her study him closely. Suddenly they're playing make-believe. Larson's an astronaut, and Avery's fueling his spaceship. They pretend it's blasting off and Larson gets super excited. He offers to do something for her, but Avery thinks he means something else and says she needs to look at her research. Avery realizes she's missing some info, so she goes to Dana, who teaches her about pleasing herself, and suggests she think about her crush. Following Dana's advice, Avery goes home and heads to the bathroom. Using the shower head to masturbate, the water grew uncomfortably hot, and Avery had to press a cold compress between her legs to soothe the discomfort. Just then, Larson called, cautioning her not to overthink natural urges. However, Avery quickly changed the topic of conversation, proposing phone sex. Larson tries various sex subjects until they finally started discussing academic interests, which Avery really enjoyed. But then Larson mentioned Avery winning at STEAMCon, which suddenly made things uncomfortable because Carlson unexpectedly showed up holding the same trophy, ruining the mood. 8 days before STEAMCon, Avery attempted to interview some classmates during math class. One of her classmates, Frank, started discussing sensitive areas of the body in a lot of detail. Then, unexpectedly, a woman named Mara offered to demonstrate, which completely distracted the teacher. To keep the teacher happy, the students pretended their discussion was about math, which successfully pleased him. Meanwhile, Mara continued her demonstration until she reached a climax and let out a joyful scream. After class, Larson and Avery hastily made their way to his place to practice what she had learned. Larson took on the role of an explorer, descending into a vibrant, narrow tunnel, occasionally reaching out to touch the walls. Avery was thrilled by this imaginative journey until they stumbled upon a mysterious door. To their surprise, opening it transported them into a beautiful swimming scene, which delighted Avery even more. Inspired by their adventure, she decided to name her app Sex Appeal. Larson wanted to take things to the next level, but Avery insisted on maintaining a professional focus on their experiments, which disappointed him. He then proposed that chemistry is achieved when love intersects with sexual experiences. But Avery disagreed, emphasizing that love and sexual experiences are distinct. Avery diligently compiled all the data and managed to finish the application on time. The night before SteamCon, Larson asked Avery to accompany him to the Science Museum, but she declined as expected. Larson questioned her feelings toward him, considering their close collaboration, but Avery's responses left him feeling let down. Despite Avery's refusal, Larson decided to go to the museum alone, even though he had 2 tickets. The following day, Avery began to realize she might have deeper feelings for Larson, but she brushed them aside. After Casper's presentation at SteamCon, they returned to the hotel room, and they began exploring intimacy, guided by suggestions from Avery's application. However, Avery realizes that despite following all the directions, she doesn't enjoy the intimate moment with Larson as she had hoped. She abruptly leaves the room, realizing in that moment that she has fallen in love with Larson. The following morning, Avery withdraws her presentation, knowing deep down that the application didn't work for her. Overwhelmed with emotion, she walks off the stage in tears, leading to Casper's automatic victory in the competition. That night, Avery visits Larson, who has grown tired of her indecisiveness. He expresses his frustration, stating that he's done waiting for her to change her mind about him. Larson realizes that Avery doesn't seem to care for anyone, especially not him, and he's relieved they didn't sleep together. Reflecting on their conversation, Avery finally understands that love and sex are intertwined. The next day, Kim suggests that Avery speak honestly with Larson. Avery interrupts Larson's music practice and confesses that he was right about love and sex. However, her admission only makes her feel foolish, and Larson has to escort her out. Avery pours out her true feelings, but it's too late. Larson has moved on. She asks him to prom, but he declines, showing no interest. In the end, Avery bravely declares her love for Larson, but he walks away in silence, tears betraying his emotions. Feeling desolate, Avery finds solace when a teacher approaches her and imparts a valuable life lesson, lifting her spirits. At prom, Larson joyfully dances with his crush, while Avery watches from a distance, feeling a pang of loneliness. However, this time, Avery accepts that some things cannot be forced. Despite her solitude, she finds contentment in Larson's happiness, realizing that true love sometimes means letting go and finding happiness in others' joy.